What is happening, guys? Cowboy here, and welcome to my walkthrough for Nioh 2. So at this point, I have roughly 150 or so hours into the main save after 2 weeks. Guides mostly together, at least we have enough to get things started. We'll be doing more prep on the streams if you want to see how this stuff is actually made. But otherwise, let's jump on in and get started. So a couple of things up front, we're going to be skipping all the cutscenes. Cutscenes are just going to add fluff onto episodes, and I'd rather get you guys information than show you movies. The movies are in the Let's Play if you want to watch that. Secondly, we're actually going to be doing this a little bit different from our typical walkthroughs. So if you're coming from something like my Sekiro or my Dark Souls 3 walkthrough, where we went to get 100% of everything, Nioh is a little bit different. Loot in Nioh is a lot closer to something like Path of Exile or Diablo in the sense that it is random and what you're going to get. Not every loot is random, but loot drops in general are going to be random. So with that in mind, we are going to still be covering where all the drops and all the stuff are in the main missions. We're going to be covering where all the Kudamas are and what side missions get you new Guardian Spirits. But the side missions that are just bonus content, as in like stuff that you can fight and a couple loots you can get, we're just going to be burning straight through those and getting to the end, not covering every single item. So essentially anything that's considered like a key drop, like something that'll give you a skill point or a Kodama that'll give you a boost or a new spirit, all of that will be covered. But just the random loot drop focused missions, we're not going to be 100%ing those because they're random loot focused. Other than that, let's get things started. And as we're going to be playing with the axe, we have gone ahead and made Thorkel from Vinland Saga. I know the hair's not right, but I mean, I kind of limited options. I think it looks pretty close. It's a pretty close Thorkel. Let's jump on in. So there is a lot of stuff to cover. We are going to be doing this walkthrough from the perspective of providing info for somebody brand new to the series. So I'm going in with the expectation that you have never played Nioh before, that you have no idea how anything in this game works, and hopefully by the end of the series, you are all complete beasts like me. So right at the start here, all of these are essentially just like item tips you can pick up. You don't need to even grab them. Right over here, if you want to change how your character looks, if you're unhappy right before you start, you can peer into the water and change their appearance. Before we even get to the items, first thing is over in the options, basic game settings, display headgear on off. A lot of people don't like how the helmets look, so that's right there. Also, automatically use acquired locks of hair. Throughout the game, we're going to find Omyo and Ninjutsu locks. When you use these items, they'll give you skill points. By turning this on, those items will automatically get used. So essentially, you pick them up and you just get a free skill point. Also, down in menu settings, we can change the number of item sets we have. You start with 2 by default, but you can go up to 3 and up to 4. These are your item shortcuts. Talking about item shortcuts, when you hold R1, you'll see the menus expand outward a little bit. If I hit left, right, that's going to scroll between my items. If I hit down, that'll scroll between my main weapons. If I hit up, that's going to scroll between my ranged weapons. Now, as for what weapon you should start with at the beginning of the game, every single weapon in this game is good. I actually have build guides for every single weapon and playstyle already. I'm going to have a link to those guides and the build guides, all the guides I've done, the entire playlist in the description for this video. But for a brand new player starting, I think there are 2 main recommendations. The first is going to be the spear. The second is going to be the axe. Now, the reason I would recommend one of these 2 weapons in particular is if we look at our stats, and you can see there is a button you can press for help. That'll pull up a listing of what every single thing in the game is. You can look at any tooltip this way. Spear scales off of Constitution, which is going to be your main stat affecting your life total, making it a very safe choice for new players. It's really good against humans. It's really good against Yokai. It's just a solid weapon all around. And since its main scaling stat is going to boost your health, it's a really safe bet. Axe is also going to boost your health, less than Constitution, but it'll boost your health and your maximum equipment weight, which means we can go with beefier sets, giving us more defense. The Axe's moveset is also kind of simple, so it's easy for players to work with. So we're also going to pick up an Odachi. Strength is the secondary scaling stat on this. If I look at my Axe, I can see I get a B+ on stamina, I get a D+ on strength, and I get a C+ on courage. Strength also helps affect weight bonus very slightly, so picking that up will give me a permanent bonus to my strength. These initial bonuses, they're not huge. It's 1 stat point, so just go with weapons that you think you're gonna like. Now, as for the spirit, we have three choices. We have Brute, Feral, and Phantom. Each of these has a slightly different parry mechanic. Phantom is essentially going to be a split-second parry. Think of it almost like a parry shield in Dark Souls. Feral is also a split-second parry, but it involves a dash. You essentially send an after image forward to hit something. If that after image hits, you get the parry. This is kind of closer to like a Bloodborne parry because you have to be at range to execute this properly. And then we have Brute. Now, Brute is what I would recommend for a new player. Brute will essentially allow you to do a pimp slap like that. You don't even need to time the parry. The second you see the enemies doing their ability, boom, with the pimp slap, but just by hitting R2 and circle. Guardian Spirit, as you can kind of see on the screen, triangle and circle, that'll summon that out and they'll do whatever element they're attributed to. With Brute, we have fire to start. Some other nice things, you can obviously do your basic attacks. If you do your heavy attack, you can charge it for a big old smash. And if you do L1 and triangle, you have a counterattack ability. Now, I'm going to recommend Axe and Brute for people that are new to the game. Axe is a very simple weapon, but you can't go wrong with it. Brute is going to be the easiest one to get counters with, especially if you're close to the enemy. You just throw it out and you slap them. Now, before we jump into our main mission, we're going to go to the starting point and talk about the dojo. Now, as you progress through the game, you're going to have new missions appear in the dojo. Doing those missions will be how you unlock new moves. What I mean by this is if we look at our skills, if I look at axe skills, I can pick this up. You can see this one says cleared mission and a bunch of question marks. This relates to the dojo missions. Completing those is how you unlock these additional skills in your skill trees. Outside of that, those dojo missions will unlock as you progress through the game, accomplishing main missions. And then lastly, you have something known as a mystic art. These unlock after you have completed the maximum proficiency weapon mission for each individual weapon. Essentially, you need 120,000 proficiency in a weapon to unlock the Master Dojo mission. Completing those will give you access to 2 different mystic arts in your individual weapons tree. For the sake of the walkthrough, I do think it's important to mention there is a side quest that we need to get going towards our Platinum Trophy for one of the Guardian Spirits that requires proficiency in dual blades. So if you just want to play the whole game with dual blades, you'll be ready to do that as soon as you get it unlocked. If you'd rather play the game with a different weapon, that's fine. We just have to play with dual swords a little bit later to get that proficiency that's needed. Now, when I'm referring to proficiency, I'm talking about this menu. Essentially, anytime you use stuff, whether it's going to be weapon and weapon skills or ninja and omyo items or shifling skills, we're going to be gaining proficiency. Well, shifling is unique in that we need soul fragments, but that's from cores and resting rights. We're not worried about that right now. We'll get that a little bit later. But so as you use an axe, the bar where it says level 1, that's going to increase. When that maxes out, you get a new skill. And those skill points are how we unlock all the things. I also want to touch base on the training ground. This is something that is new in Nioh 2. And this place is super, super useful for learning how to master your weapon, how to do your yokai abilities, how to do anything. Essentially in the dojo here, we can do a couple things: summon foes, infinite items, infinite Amrita. We can adjust at the shrine. If I go over here and hit this, it's going to fill up my Amrita bar. And then if I go over and I hit this thing, this little Shikigami, it's going to summon up a Yoki. So I can go ahead and kind of practice with the Brute. So showing the like L1 triangle thing here. Let him attack. Practice timing your, practice all your different counterattacks and how to time them. Definitely worth doing. Pretty much anytime I'm putting together a new build, I come in here, I test out different abilities, I see if it's more key damage, more damage to health, just how strong it is. Super, super useful thing. And there's a variety of different enemies you can fight in there. So if you're having trouble with a particular move, I highly suggest going to the dojo. Now, having covered all that, let's jump into our very first main mission, the Village of Cursed Blossoms. For those curious, we are playing on a PS4 Pro. We are also in action mode, so 60 FPS. Run on forward, grab this guy. and hit our shrine. Now, if you're somebody that pre-ordered the game or you have DLC or any of that stuff, right over here, go to Boons, and you'll get a bunch of bonus little items to use, some smithing texts, bunch of goodies. We're going to put on a couple of these goodies. Whether or not we have these isn't going to make a major difference. The playthrough, it's just some fun bonus stuff we have access to. Now, as for the armor, I'm probably going to do first samurai only because it is medium. Typically, we're going to use heavy armor, but I don't want to go all in. And the demon set is very beefy. And what you'll notice is my equipment weight goes up to yellow. And that is my equipment weight refers to your agility. Now, your agility is going to affect a couple of different things on your build. It's going to affect how far you can roll, how fast you generate ki. Just in general, C agility is going to be a lot harder than B agility. B agility will feel a lot more comfortable. And so if we want to wear heavier armor, I'd suggest we focus on getting stamina up first, making it easier to equip. Which on the note, since stamina is going to be the primary stat on our axe, we're going to go ahead and put a point on in there. Start getting that up. So I'm going to grab this, go around the corner, and kill a Gaki. So you can see the tutorials are talking about quick attacks and strong attacks. How to lock onto your targets. That is not the weapon I want to use. Now, right here, we have a Kazuki. We're going to fight this Kazuki, but we're not going to fight him right now. We'll fight him in a little bit. Essentially, about halfway through this level, we'll grab our first Yokai ability. It'll make that fight a lot easier. So it's silly to fight him right now. We'll just go and do him in like 10 minutes from now. We'll kill him in this episode, actually. So go over here, and here is our very first Kodama. Send those little guys back to the shrine. Those are important to get. They're on every main mission and a couple of side missions. Now, if this guy's on the ground, I can walk up and I can press triangle. That's known as a final blow. Final blows do large amounts of damage. They happen when a target is out of ki and they've been knocked down. Additionally, there's something else known as a grapple. That is when something is out of ki but still standing. An important distinction is that a enemy that can be final blowed, they're going to take a lot of damage, but you're also vulnerable to that final blow. Let's lure this guy on over. Whereas when an enemy can be grappled, you're invulnerable during the grapple animation. Meaning if you're surrounded by a bunch of humans and you grapple one, you're not going to get hit at all. If you try to go for a final blow, on the other hand, that human could boop you in the face. So something to keep in mind there. So on the note of loot, I'd highly suggest you sort things by level. Level is king in Nioh. You absolutely want to be running the highest level weapon that you have at any given time. When it comes to weapon stats, only your active weapon stats apply. So if this had a bunch of different damage modifiers on it, it doesn't matter. If I'm using the axe, I don't get those bonuses. With your ranged weapon, however, whatever primary ranged weapon you have, those stats can also help apply towards your regular weapon. So in the case of the axe, if I have a ranged weapon on, I'm getting the bonus of that. Now let me see here. I'm getting ahead of myself in my notes. And cross bridge, straight and fight. Swing horse up ahead. You have a shortcut leading back to shrine. Cross bridge for now. Go straight and fight the Enki. Okay. So we'll do this and we'll fight the Enki first. This will give you an opportunity to do the burst counter, which is kind of what you just saw us do in the dojo quest. You essentially, with feral or phantom, you need to time this attack to counter it right when it's about to hit you. With brute, you can just go ahead and hit that ability as soon as you have a chance to. Knocking his ki out allowed us to get a grapple. You'll also notice that when we broke his horn, that also did a bunch of damage. And here is our very first soul core. So, real fast, I want to talk about ki pulsing. You'll notice how when I attack, I'm able to get back a lot of my ki. That's by tapping R1 at the right time. And that is a core mechanic of this game. When it comes to fighting, if you don't do that, you'll notice that my stamina, or my ki, which is what it's called, will plummet on down. So I need to tap R1 when that bar gets full. And this is very important. You can do this while switching stances as well. So I can hit R1 and triangle at the same time, or R1 and square, and I've now key pulsed. I'm now into mid stance, and I got back my key. I'll go here, grab this. And we got 2 gakis and an item out in the back. He did. Now this is a revenant. Revenants are, the red graves are going to be basically hostile NPCs that you can summon and fight. How the name is read, that means it is an artificially added one, so whether you're online or offline, you'll see that grave. If the name is white, it means it's an actual player who died. So swing on through here. This just brings us on back. As you can see, it just loops around. We're gonna go this way first and go up here for our next Kodama. As a general rule of thumb, if you're fighting something one-on-one, it's good to go for the final blows. Otherwise, go for a grapple. Not everything can be grappled, by the way. Sorry, another Kodama. Come on, buddy. Back to the shrine you go. We're going to grab this loot, and then we're going to head on up and grab that loot that's up on the bridge. Gonna kill this guy. While these guys seem like basic enemies, if you ever see a Gaki rushing in to grab you, that is something to be careful with. These things can grab you and actually grow and become quite a bit bigger. And when they become bigger, they are actually a little bit of a threat. So just something to keep in mind. You'll notice because you'll hear a whole like boom, and they'll try and rush at you. Kill that. And then we're going to do a plunge attack. Now, plunge attacks can happen from either square or triangle. We just hit a button in the air and splat something. Oh boy. This will give me a good opportunity to show a grapple. So how he's now standing, but I have that same indicator, that's going to proc a grapple attack. Like I said, big difference is that when I do a grapple, I'm immune to damage. When they go in a grapple state, if you hit them, that's how they'll fall down and open up for a final blow. All right, so now that we are at a shrine, let's go ahead and make an offering and receive a Kodama blessing. Now, as you acquire Kodamas in various levels, these blessings will open on up. If you're farming, Hunter blessing is what you want. If you're just trying to get through the game, Oracle blessing. This is just going to increase your total Amrita, which is what we use to level on up. So it's a very solid, safe choice. You get new Kodamas in every region. So every time you're in a new region, reapply a blessing. Also going to level up a little bit. Actually, before that, let's take a look at gear. So when it comes to leveling up, one of the first things you want to take a look at are your required stats. If you do not meet the required stats for gear, like right here, I'll get that 17 defense, but the dash key consumption and the +8 defense, those aren't going to be, they're just not going to happen. They won't go into effect because I don't meet the constitution requirement on that piece of gear. Actually, what's the 6th piece? Key pulse recovery. No, I will put this on. Still at 62.8. Life drain on melee kill. That'll put me overweight. And if I keep you, I get a bullseye bonus. I don't really have any skills. So we're going to go with the life drain melee kill. And then I will put 1 point in stamina so that I can have both of these sets on. So Stamina is on up. We're going to get 1 point in Constitution here since we're seeing a couple pieces of gear that need 6 in there. And that looks good for now. So, now we are going to work our way over there, and we're going to try and take on that mini-boss that we saw earlier. Worried about that guy. I am worried that I've already taken a hit and we haven't even made it up to the boss yet. Gonna need all of those elixirs probably. Now, if you can't beat this guy right now, don't worry about it. We're gonna gain the ability to put on soul cores, and we can always come back and fight him at that point. So if you're struggling, you know, just know you're not alone. Before we go in, let's learn some skills. Let's do Key Pulse Heaven. And on this note, a couple key things I want to point out. You have Flux and Flux 2. These allow you to get more key by switching stances. And then you have Key Pulse Heaven and Running Water Heaven. These are in every tree. This is for the mid tree. This is for the low tree. Key pulsing in each different stance will give you a bonus. High stance will cause your next attack to be stronger. Mid stance will mitigate the key damage you receive from guarding. Low stance will mitigate the key consumption from your next dodge. In addition to that, these ones allow the key pulse to trigger during a dodge. So essentially, you know, I mean, it won't work because I don't have it, but if I was to go like this and then dodge back, I would have gotten back my key, which is super, super nice. So what do we got here? Roar, Cloud Crush. Let's go Heaven and Earth. That'll be the best damage for the time being. Now let's see if we can take this thing on. So we're going to drink our Sacred Water. This is going to help our key recovery speed. Now this is called a Gozuki. It's weak to water, so if you have, well, I highly doubt any of you have water weapons. Put that on, that'll be a little bit better. But he's weak to water. He is resistant to fire, lightning, corruption, poison, and paralysis. And essentially, we're just going to counter him like that and then get some damage in. Notice how he's always doing a 3-hit combo, where the 3rd hit is going to be the one that we can counter. You also notice that Yokai pool that he had on the ground there? Doing a perfectly timed key pulse will remove Yokai pools. Now that he's down, we get a grapple. Now, if you're using Feral or Phantom, you're going to want to line up and actually parry that big axe swing that he's doing. You're not going to be able to just pimp slap him like I am, but that's also exactly why I recommended that people use Brute. Because Brute, you don't even need to time the parry, you just slap people. Say, no, sit down, big cow. And that's one big old dead cow. So, pick up that loot. I think we got the loot that was over here earlier. Yes, we did. We picked up that. So we have this one piece over here, and we'll open this on up. So, with the cow undead, did I kick down this ladder before? Never did. So just going in balls to the wall. With the cow dead, we're actually going to wrap things on up. We're going to make our way back to the shrine, but the next episode will kick off from right here. So really easy to get on back. Go back, spend that stuff, and we'll take a look at the loot we got real fast. So, skill customization, that's irrelevant for now. One thing I'm not sure about is it's not letting me equip my soul core yet. I think that might be after we purge our first Dark Realm. Anyway, it looked like I got 2 blues. Now, one thing I want to point out is even though these are both level 1, it looks like this one is stronger. And that's because of that thing up top here, familiarity. The more you have used a weapon, the higher the familiarity will go, and the higher the familiarity, the stronger that weapon will be. You'll also notice this has 3 bars worth, this has 2 bars worth. So in general, um, yellow's better than white, blue's better than yellow, purple's better than blue, and then once you get to New Game Plus, you'll get something known as Divine, which is green. So for these two, we're gonna, let's talk about this. This little icon here, that means this is inheritable. And what that means is if this weapon gets max familiarity, I can use soul matching to move that ability, the Amrita versus Yokai, over to a different ability, essentially giving this 3 abilities. That being said, that's not something I really care to inherit, so we're just going to put this guy on for now. Taking a look at our gear. Heirloom helm. None of these are really calling to me right now, so I think we'll keep what we have. You have treasure sensor and luck bonus, Amrita and backstab damage taken. Gord has Onyo magic bonus and water damage. Not really interested in that either. So instead we'll just level up. Our encumbrance is looking good, but we're still gonna keep pumping, stamina. So you can see stamina, I'll get an extra 5 attack. If I go to strength, I'll get 3. If I go to courage, I'll get 4. And this is why we went with axe, because just these 2 points, I'm getting an extra 45 life, I'm getting more weapon damage, and I'm getting more equipment load, which means more heavier gear. So we're going to wrap this episode up here for now. In the next episode, we're going to make our way throughout this little fishing village, over to that dark spooky cloud, and then through the rest of this level to our first real final boss. So stay tuned, and I'll catch you all soon enough with more.